If you haven't ditched your real car for an electric vehicle, you are not the only one. The EV dream is dying, at least outside Tesla. In short, nobody wants them, not nearly enough to cover the billions of dollars that irresponsible car companies have poured into EVs to entertain left-wing journalists and BlackRock. A few months ago, I mentioned that Ford was set to lose $5.5 billion on EVs this year, having already lost $5 billion last year on the unicorn farts. The Wall Street Journal estimates Ford could actually boost profits by 50% if they drop EVs altogether. Indeed, Ford recently announced they're halting shipments of the much-hyped electric F-150 since dealers were refusing to accept trucks that they cannot sell. Ford's now calling off a brand new battery factory that was supposed to create thousands of jobs in Michigan. Meanwhile, Swedish carmaker Volvo, Chinese carmaker Volvo since 2010, said they're cutting off funding for their loss-making EV affiliate altogether. Now, Volvo had been one of the earliest adopters of EVs, even promising to stop making gasoline vehicles, so apparently that's done. Renault canceled its EV IPO, the shares of EV maker Polestar have fallen 83%. Hertz, the rental company, said it's dumping a third of its EVs. Apparently they're too expensive and customers do not want them. Even longtime EV cheerleader Consumer Reports now concludes they have twice as many problems and are, quote, less reliable than the old fashions. Incidentally, Toyota is suddenly the smartest guy at the table after taking heat for years from environmentalists in the mainstream media for being EV laggards, for being hopelessly wed to the outdated internal combustion engine. But Toyota held the line, insisting customers don't want EVs, they want hybrids at most. And now Toyota's hybrid sales are rising almost 40%, and they don't have billions in EV losses to write off. This all sent Toyota's stock price up 80%. Now, as London's Financial Times, one of the fiercest critics, now sheepishly puts it, quote, maybe Toyota was right all along. Meanwhile, those who did drink the Kool-Aid are dropping like flies. Short companies got bait and switched by government subsidies and left-wing journalists, and now shareholders are paying the price. When the dust settles, I imagine the only survivors will be Tesla and its Chinese imitators, who will keep plowing through Beijing's free government money, since they don't have to answer to voters. So what's next? Brought to you by Unchained.com. The green dream is dying far beyond EVs. Megabanks are pulling out of the $68 trillion climate action fund, that's trillion with a T. Windmills are being canceled across the country or going bust. Politicians are pretending they never heard of green, while the Wall Street Journal writes that green is the, quote, latest dirty word in corporate America. Why? Because when consumers have a choice, they say no. Unfortunately, that's only true where they do have a choice. I've talked about incredible jumps in energy prices in failing regimes like Germany or California, where green energy is being forced on consumers. So if your utility goes green and jacks the price, you can't opt out, even if the EV bloodbath is saying people don't want to go bankrupt playing for climate fairies. Of course, Washington is years, if not decades, behind the curve. Their lobbyists will keep pouring hundreds of billions of your money into green tech that nobody wants. The cronies will make out, as they have with every failed green project since Solyndra. And given the sums involved, it's $1 trillion and counting in the US alone, when the smoke clears, we'll have a whole new generation of Rust Belts with a whole new generation of taxpayers on the hook for every last penny. We've got a brand new episode of the podcast just dropped this morning. Check it out at profsatange.com. Okay, we'll be watching. See you next time.